Good evening and welcome to the Business Day. I'm Javon Keys. Let's start off with some news from the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB. It says higher and sustained levels of economic growth that's needed to achieve greater prosperity for the region. Director of Economics at the CDB, Ian Durand, says the Caribbean needs to ensure export competitiveness and a rise in productivity is achieved.
Future requisites for achieving this are 1. Adequate climate resilient social and economic infrastructure. 2. Improving the institutional frameworks within which businesses operate, especially through digitalization. 3. The adoption of artificial intelligence. 4. Deepening the human resource base and reducing skills gaps. 5. Creating the enabling environment for greater penetration of sustainable energy sources to strengthen energy security, but also stabilize and reduce energy costs. And 6, enhancing logistics quality to augment intra-regional trade, which can develop regional value chains while reducing import dependence and enhancing food security.
Now let's take things back home. The Bank of Jamaica, BOJ, says it is no longer issuing the old paper notes. Deputy Governor at the BOJ, Natalie Haynes, says the central bank is hoping to stick to the 2-year timeline for the old notes to be demonetized.
Number of pieces, because that's what we measure. It's about 40% that are the old notes. All right? So it's a 60-40 ratio. We are no longer issuing old notes since last year, November. We are going to give it a little more time because recall there are still some issues with some of the ATMs. The banks are currently at about 99% in terms of ATM acceptance of the new notes as well as issuance of the new notes. However, for some banks, one in particular, the 2000, they're still retrofitting for that. And so we want to wait until that is achieved and you have full coverage for the new notes in all ATMs across the island.
She says a number of steps must be taken before the notes are fully withdrawn.
We have to give the public advance notice to say the demonetization is X date, and that, of course, also has to be gazetted. So we're going through that process. And, of course, Bank of Jamaica's accommodation in terms of destroying those old notes. We have to be ready for when that 40% comes back in. We have to be destroying it. So we think the 2 years is still adequate in terms of all that preparation.
Now, when the new polymer notes were first introduced in 2023, the BOJ said it would take about 2 years before it expects the old notes to be out of circulation and demonetized. And still on currency matters, trading ended with banks and Cambio selling the US dollar for an average $157.04. The Canadian is going for an average $115.34. The pound is trading for an average $198.77, while it's costing $173.32 for the euro. Meanwhile, the JSE index lost 2,633 points today, while the junior market index increased by 38 points. Among the 35 winners were Epley's 7.75% preference shares, Sterling Investments US dollar shares, Key Insurance Company, Paramount Trading Jamaica, and The Lab. Now, the 50 losers included MPC Caribbean Clean Energy, Mayberry Group, JMMB Group 7.25% Jamaican dollar cumulative redeemable preference shares, MPC Caribbean Clean Energy US dollar shares, and JMMB Group 7% variable Jamaican dollar preference shares. Now 23 stocks closed the session selling at the same price they started trading. And that's it for the Business Day. I'm Javon Keys. Good evening.